So today we have a couple more talking robots that are mechanical talkers. In other words, there's a record player inside of them. Nothing particularly rare about either one. You just might not have seen them or heard them operate. I've got about 4 different versions of this one in my collection. Ones that you can actually control with a sonic control, and one that plays Twinkle Twinkle Little Star instead of talking. But I grabbed this one because when I put batteries in, it was working. Most of the other ones, you're actually going to have to, anytime a battery, let's step back, anytime you have a battery toy that's been sitting 20 to 40 years without running, the grease in the motor commutator tends to firm up, so the brushes don't make a good electrical contact, and the toy generally isn't going to run unless you put batteries in it and tap on a little bit, or reach in and spin a gear, and worst case, open them up. In the case of Silly Billy Bot, I actually had to open it up, and I didn't have the camera running, so I can't show you what it was like, but it wasn't real thrilling. I mean, it removed some screws, took the back off, got into the motor when it was on, and moved the motor shaft, and of course everything comes back to life then. The only thing you don't want to ever do, that I've heard that some people have done, is if you have a vintage toy and you think you're going to get it running by giving it more power instead of the 2 batteries that each one of these have, which is 3 volts, they'll try hitting it with 4.5, 6 volts or something. You never want to do that. One, it isn't running because it doesn't have enough voltage. It isn't running because the brushes are stuck in the grease on the motor commutator, so they're not making electrical contact. All you need to do is rotate that motor by moving a gear or pushing on the shaft or shaking or tapping on the toy. Plus, if you over voltage a toy that has a vintage toy that has light bulbs or a smoker, you're going to burn the light bulbs and the smoker out. So you never want to go that route. It's always better to, if you have to, worst case, open them up to move something. And if you don't need to do that, try tapping it, vibrating it, slapping it, spanking it. Got a lot of different words for it. This particular battery-operated talking one, I believe, was Hong Kong. Yep, Hong Kong. Got a lot of, like I said, different versions of it, but they all look kind of the same. And this is back when you could still have the spring-loaded missiles you could load in there to fire. You have a switch. Get the viewfinder where I can see what I'm showing you. You've got a switch in the back, it's your main on-off, and you've got these buttons on the front. Only these 2 will turn the record player part on. And of course the walking function, like any of your battery toys. The old legs with the ratchets. It's a little squeaky, it sounds like the motor could use a couple drops of oil. If you ever need to get in and oil in the motors and things like that, and you need a way of getting the oil precisely where you want it, this is just 3-in-1 oil, but you can get these little containers like this at hobby shops and online. But that'll get you with a little needle point, so you can get the little drop of oil exactly where you want it and not just all over the place. So that's a handy thing to have. Let's move the batteries over to Silly Billy Bot. And my fingers are just about numb out here. Only a couple degrees above freezing, and it's usually my fingers that give out first. They hurt, and then they get to the point where I can't feel anything. And get the batteries in old Silly Billy. Interesting thing about most of these talking robots that have the mechanical record in them is even if they have 2 batteries, generally only one of the batteries is used for running the record player part. I think it has another message.
I am Silly Billy Bot. I am searching for information. Tell me a story.
I think those were the only 2 messages it had. Of course, then it's got your normal walking. This is a linear walker. And it has the ratchet in the feet.
It tickles when you press my heart.
Oh, we heard 3 different messages. I wonder if there's a 4th.
It tickles when you press my heart.
But you get these arms that are expandable. You've got claws that can open and close. If you move the ears, this one makes the eyes move. This one makes this top thing jump back and forth. And ratcheting stones. And so there you have it. 2 more mechanical talking robots.